All right, hi guys. We're taking a look at our next section in Unit 1. We're going to be adding to the idea of the segment today that we learned about the other day. So we're going to just review a little bit, one vocabulary word before we jump into segments, and that term is absolute value. Now, you've worked with absolute value in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. We do work a little bit with it in geometry. So just to as a reminder, absolute value is the number of units a number is away from 0 on the number line. So you need to figure out how many units away from 0 is the number you're working with. And that's specifically what absolute value wants to know. Now, when we bring in a segment on a number line, we're going to be using the idea of absolute value when we look at the formula to help us out with that. Now, I'm going to show you two ways that you can get the distance of a line segment when it's on a number line. So let's look at our first one. So a number line distance when a segment is drawn is the distance from one end, one of your endpoints more specifically. So from one endpoint of a line segment to another on a given number line. Now the direction of the number line, if it's flat or if it's vertical, that doesn't matter. But again, we want to know how far along that number line is being used. So let's take a look at our first example. So right now I have a segment that is starting at -8, going all the way down to -1, and I need to see what's the distance of it. How long is it? So one way, if you're not dealing with too big of a number here, is you can actually just count it. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So for this one, it's easy enough just to count the distance of this line is 7 units. If we had centimeters, it'd be 7 centimeters. If we had inches, it'd be 7 inches. Now, not always is it going to be in your best interest to count the spaces. Because guys, maybe you're dealing with -37 all the way to 52. That's going to be a lot of jumps. So we need a quick way that you can find the distance of these segments as long as you know where the ends are. And our formula says we're going to take the absolute value. So those are the absolute value bars of the second endpoint, so the endpoint on the right, minus the first one, or the endpoint on the left. Now, you can reverse that. Either end of your segment will give you the same answer. So I'm going to show you both ways with example 2. So let's give that a try. Example 2 here. We've got point P is at -30. So let's say we let that be x1. Q, we need to figure out what number it is. Okay, now, so not always are those points going to end up exactly on nice, easy to recognize numbers. So we need to use a little bit of logic here. So right now we have from 0 to 10, there is one hash mark, one dash in there between, sitting in the exact middle. So guys, you need to figure out, if you've got marks in the middle between your numbers, you need to figure out really what is this number line counting by. So if my dash is halfway between 0 and 10, halfway between 0 and 10 gives me a 5. So I know now that I'm counting by 5. So 0, 5, 10, making this Q at a +15. And so we'll let that be x2. So let's try our formula. The absolute value of x2, 15, minus -30. Let's see what we get. All right, so as a reminder from Algebra 1 and 2, if we have a minus negative, it's the same as if we had a plus, so 15 plus 30, which gives us the absolute value of +45. And guys, +45 is 45 units away from 0. So there is my final answer. Now, if you had reversed the two numbers, okay, the other way we could have done this, let's say we did reverse, and you had 30 minus -15. You still would have had 30 plus 15 because of that minus negative. So the order here is not what's important as long as you know what your two endpoint numbers are at. That's what you need to figure out. So whether you let the left one be x1 or x2, you're going to get the same answer either way. So let's try a couple of examples here and let's see what happens. All right, this time we don't have a number line to count and we're dealing with decimals. So this is a really good candidate for your formula. So I need the absolute value of x1. So let's say I let my first one be x1. I'm going to let the second one be x2. So now I have negative 2.7 minus 12.3, and I'm going to stick this in my calculator and see what I get. So now I have the absolute value of negative 15. So the number itself, negative 15, is 15 units away from 0. So I have positive 15. So working with absolute value is not that bad. What we want to remember, though, is whatever number we're left with inside, what single number we're left with inside those absolute values, we want the positive version of it. That's why we're getting always a positive answer here. All right, so we've got one thing to remember that I want to talk to you guys about when dealing with distance, and it specifically happens when you're dealing with segments. So one thing with segment distance, like it says down there on the bottom, if there's no symbol above 2 letters, that means the distance of or the length of. So no symbol above is what we're looking at. So guys, if we were doing this last one that we did, the distance of segment AB, so the length of AB, no symbol is up there, is equal to 15. And so we would read this as the distance of 15, or in this case, the length of segment AB is 15. So again, there's no symbol up there. Okay, so guys, I hope you liked learning a little bit about finding the length of your segments, because again, they are a measurable piece of a line, so we can measure them. So please take a second and make sure you've done the daily check-in for today. And guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day.